There's the trigger warnings for this game. And these now. I'm chilly. Yeah, make sure you get the sound as well. Sound important. We're gonna finish. We have one more route to do in this game, so I thought why not just finish it here. Might as well. Might bring me a bit over time, but that is okay. That is a-okay. And again. So, this is Ebi-Hime's entry to the Toxic Yuri Jam. And we played 2/3 of it last week. And I'm going to finish it now today. And there are some trigger content warnings as I posted in chat and pinned, which is that this visual novel contains discussions and depictions of subjects that viewers may find unsettling, such as misogyny, arranged marriages, drugging and poisoning, kidnapping, arson, physical and medical abuse, talk of murder and suicide, descriptions of dead bodies, and the continued misgendering of a transmasc character, pseudo-incest, two characters who are not related by blood but refer to each other as sister. Your discretion is advised. I think there should be one route left in this game, if this is to be trusted. So I thought, let's finish it off. We're almost there. And I have some time left. And I can't wait. I want to play more of it. That's where we're here. I'm gonna play more Glass Heart by Ebi-Hime. You continue to drift in the darkness. It submerges you, like tar, like oil. There's something oddly reassuring about the darkness. Something soothing. But you can't drift forever. There is work which needs to be done. Is it to dot the T? There is work which needs to be done. I's to dot and T's to cross. There is a mountain of paperwork waiting for you, and all sorts of charts which need collating, all sorts of reports which need to be written. This work will not sort itself, but you know full well, even as you drift, that is not going to that she's not going to do it for herself. She's already been so slipshod and slovenly, so incredibly careless. Does not call out to you. There's nobody to call out to you, but you are still able to force yourself to awake. You have woken yourself for the last 2 years, and you are certain you will continue to do so, no matter what curious avenues your life might take you to. You no longer have any maids to rouse you. You no longer have her, and the thought of her waking you up before you is farcical. She was never once woken you up, save for by accident when she stayed awake long into the evening, hours of the morning to study. When she was tripped over a pile of books, and the resultant crash stirred you from your slumber. There's no crash this morning, however. No resultant which whimpers of pain. There's only the sound of the chirping birds outdoors, and an uncomfortable crink in your neck. Did you fall asleep at your desk again? It wouldn't be the first time. You wince. An unpleasant, sour taste fills your mouth. When was the last time you brushed your teeth? And your brow furrows. Though you know your responsibilities, well, you still feel weary. Part of you, rather small part of mind. Small part, mind you. Mind, but it's still there. Would like to sleep just a little while longer, shoring up your strength before she sends you out on any further fetch quests. But you cannot drift forever. She'd wait for you, and she relies on you. She might be a genius, but she is completely hopeless when it comes to everyday affairs. She can cultivate life inside a petri dish, but she does not even know how to dress herself. She will wither away without you, like a rose in the winter. She will suffer and sicken, with nobody to brush her hair, to prepare her food, to make her bed, to ensure that she lives. She cannot do anything on her own. This savant sister of yours, this rare and unusual idiot who cannot even scramble an egg without starting a fire. And so, you force yourself to wake up. You blink, and when you do, you wince. It is as you thought. You did fall asleep on your desk, amidst several scattered documents, charts, and graphs, and all manners of miscellanea. You can't even begin to name it right now. There's an uncomfortable crink in your neck, and in your back, and a sour taste persists in your mouth. The taste is unpleasant, almost acrid, and you wince. You can't quite place it, not for a few moments. But a glance to your right at the cacophony of cups placed amidst the sea of documents soon clears that up. You were drinking coffee late last night in an attempt to keep your eyes open. Endless cups of it. Well, that explains that mystery. It is little wonder the inside of your mouth tastes like a charnel house, or that your head hurts so much. You ought to have expected it. You sit up at your desk, wincing and gingerly. You press a hand to your neck. You probe your muscles, which feel taut and head beneath your skin all knotted. Your fingers sink into your neck, procuring from you a sharp hiss, like a boiled night kettle. Then you turn. There she is. She is there. But of course she is. She never leaves this room of hers. Will pore over her studies at her desk for hours on end. She isn't doing any poring right now, however. Fatigue must have caught up to her at long last, and she now lies slumped, her cheeks resting against her own desk, her eyelids closed. Her hair sticks out from her scalp all angles, and her skin looks very pale, almost sallow, in contrast. She shuffles a little as she sleeps, her chest rising and falling, her fingers are curled upon the desk. As small and delicate as young girls. Everything about her is small and delicate. A diminutive figure. Her clothes almost seem too big and baggy for her. As a result, she looks almost half-formed, swamped by her own skirt. She looks like a child playing pretend, a young girl who has rifled through her mother's wardrobe, pulling on the clothes at random. But her mother died many years ago, as did her father. That is why she is sent to live with you in your decently sized abode when you were both young girls, only 10 years of age. She is your companion from childhood, but is also, by the same token, so much more than that. Your father was acquainted with her father, and went to university together, and once were business partners, though they lost contact over the years. In most other stories, that would be the end of matters. But your father somehow heard that his former friend's wife had succumbed to an illness. His friends, to the grief which ensued. In the wake of these unfortunate deaths, there was nobody to look after the young daughter which was left behind, until your father, always a bleeding heart, resolved to take her in. He welcomed the strange, pale-faced, bookish girl into your home, and your life changed for good. Before she appeared, your days were horridly dull and drab. She stayed indoors like a good little girl. You stayed indoors like a good little girl, for that was what your mother wanted. She was something of a hypochondriac, and you played with her dolls. You attended your lessons, and you read only the books which were considered appropriate for a young girl. But you always took care to mind your manners. You were well bred, well brought up, well behaved, and you were horribly, achingly, indecisively bored. You railed against your lot in life, but only ever internally. As a young lady, you knew better than to say what you really thought, to try and make a scene. You did everything that was asked of you without complaint. Well, inside, you screamed and raged and gnashed your teeth at the stupid, vicious, pompous banality of it all. Until she arrived at your doorstep. You'd never met her before, and you took against her at first, especially when your father asked in that hopeful way of his. You to treat her like a sister. A sister? Never heard of anything preposterous. She was a stranger. How could she be your sister when you were nothing alike? She looked foolish in your hand-me-downs, with her fair hair tied back, fruitlessly, for it never stayed flat. With your ribbons, so much so you laughed at her. In the beginning, you thought of her as an amusing distraction, something to take out your petty childhood rage on. You would kick her covertly at the dinner table, and you would pinch her as you passed in the hallway, but you never did let her play with your dolls. You scorned her, and you sneered at her. Until that fateful day, when poor Safi suffered an awful mishap. You were skipping along in the garden, Safi in tow, imagining that you were a grown lady, and that she was your small daughter. When you stumbled, then you fell. You collapsed on the ground, Safi tumbled from your arms. You sustained only a few shallow injuries yourself. A skinned knee, a bruise on your ankle. But Safi was far less fortunate. As a delicate doll, she was made of far more fragile stuff than a 10-year-old girl. She happened to fall awkwardly, and, to your horror, her beautiful head hit a rock jutting out of the grass. The rock did not shatter her porcelain face, but Safi did undergo a rather gruesome transformation as a result. Both of Safi's lovely eyes were knocked loose from the force of her fall. The dull smack of porcelain against rock sent both her eyes falling into the vast, empty hollow of her head. You scrambled to your feet after you fell, then grabbed hold of your poor doll. You stared at her, shaking. And then, upon seeing her empty sockets, you began to scream. You screamed and you screamed and you screamed until your throat threatened to tear. Tears began to bead in your eyes, hot, wet tears, like condensation on the side of a teacup, and your nose started to run snot. Safi's new eyeless visage was so horrifying that, for a few minutes, you forgot all sense of decorum, all sense of poise and grace. You forgot that you were supposed to be a lady. You cried out as the daughter of not like a daughter of a baronet, but like any gutter snipe would upon being caught out filching a loaf of bread. You cried so loudly, so very excessively, that your plaintive wailing could be heard across the garden. A nearby gardener startled while pruning the topiary hedges, and he dropped his shears, almost slicing off a few of his toes in the process. The gardener was unharmed, fortunately. Not that you much cared in the throats of your immense grief. The same could not be said for your poor Sappy. She looked so frightful with those empty, staring sockets where once her eyes had been, and you could not look at her. She started to scare you, your beautiful doll, whom you had loved so dearly, as if she were an extension of you. You began to fear that your connection with Sappy had been irreparably severed, that you would never be able to love something so malformed, no matter how hard you tried. But Sappy's was not set in stone. Sappy's fate was not set in stone. Your sister soon heard what occurred. She asked to see Sappy later that night. Then, in a muted voice, she told you that she might be able to help. She sounded sincere enough, but you did not immediately trust her. In fact, in the beginning, you did not trust her at all. You had never been kind to her at all. You had seen her a usurper in your household, a competitor for your parents' affection, and she worried she might use this as a chance to retaliate. You wondered, initially, if she's meant to do Sappy further harm, if she would smash her porcelain head to pieces like sand on the beach. But your sister sounded sincere enough. She looked the part with those wide and innocent eyes of hers. She seemed concerned for Sappy's plight. And what did it matter, you told yourself, if she did harm Sappy further? Your poor beloved doll's eyes had already fallen inside her head. Let your sister fiddle around with her. She could hardly hurt Sappy more than she had been hurt already. You shrugged carelessly, as if Sappy's plight did not much matter to you, and casually gave your sister permission to probe her. Wait a second, I'm checking something real quick. You could take a look at Sappy if you wished, though you doubted anything would come of it. What am I being painted here? Wow. That's what piece for. Okay, we're good. It seemed unlikely that she would be able to fix her. That is what you thought, at least. But then, a miracle occurred. Your sister had Sappy for only a brief while. 15 minutes, if that. During this small window of time, however, she was somehow able to fish Sappy's clanking eyes out of her cranium. Set the eyes back to place, her slender fingers quick and nimble, and handed her back to you, without any flourishes. With a quiet, monosyllabic, "Here." Initially, you found yourself incapable of believing it. You marveled at how your sister had managed to repair Sappy, leaving behind no trace of her interference. Why, Sappy looked as good as new. What black magic had your sister used to heal her? Your sister looked at you flatly and said there was no magic. She had just done anything special. I just put her eyes back into place. I put her eyes back in place. I had to saw open her skull first to fish them out, but I put her back together again. Hair covers it, so you can't even see the seam. It was not difficult. It sounded difficult to you, despite your sister's explanation. difficult and incredibly technical alongside it. But you were so relieved to see that Safi was alright, you didn't bother to press the issue. Instead, you smiled, your faith in this strange girl swelling into you. You had never much cared for this pale, pinched girl who had come to stay with you, but a single interaction converted you. Your new sister had saved Safi, though she had been under no obligation to. You had always been perfectly horrible to her, yet she still came to your aid, without asking anything in return. That your opinion of your sister altered. You began to see her, not as a parasite, but as a true member of your family. Ever since that day, you endeavored to make her feel welcome, and in so doing, apologize for how cruelly you had once treated her. You stopped trying to trip her in the hallways, and you stopped playing mean-spirited jokes on her. You began to spend time with her instead, inviting her to take part in your imaginary tea parties and perusing your favorite books by your side. You listened to your sister talk, faltering first, of her parents and how they had died. You held your sister during the first and last time she sobbed for her deceased mother, and you ran your fingers through her hair. You told her, your voice as soft and as soothing as your own nursemaids, that it would be alright. You didn't need to cry. You were there for her. You promised your sister that you would pledge yourself to her, and that is exactly what you did. Now, more than a decade after, you and your sisters have remained inseparable. Not twins in the biological sense, but the spiritual. Your sister once told you that she dreamed of becoming a doctor. Or, no, a scientist. It was her dream to revive the dead so that she might be able to see her mother once more. A dream she had pursued doggedly, no matter how impossible it might seem. Your sister studied hard, so much your parents realized that it would be a waste to let her languish in the family estate. She was sent to boarding school at the age of 12, and later she was even able to secure a scholarship to a well-renowned university. Naturally, you followed your sister, first to school, then university, though you received no scholarship yourself. You're no scholar yourself, and your examination results have always been decidedly mediocre, but you are determined to do all you can to aid your sister in her studies. You traveled all the way to the capital to aid your sister in all her trivial day-to-day affairs, for, genius though she may be, she has always been hopeless at looking after herself. You and your sister rented rooms. A run-down atelier, which once belonged, or so you've heard, to a painter of some renown, and you helped her move in. For the last 2 years, you had kept her living space neat and tidy. Or as neat and tidy as you can keep it. Your sister leaves so many books around. The air smells faintly of turmeric, turpentine. You prepare your sister's meals, and you pick up your sister's scattered belongings. You generally ensure that she is taking proper care of herself. That is your lot in life. A maid of sorts to your sister, though you don't mind this. You think it was what your sister deserves. She's a genius, after all. The genius who saved Safi. You might one day save humanity. Others of the university might scoff and sneer at her. Your sister is one of 5 female students, but you will always support her in her endeavors. You have no choice but to support her. You do love her, after all. Your love for her is intense and driving, just like flames, which threaten to consume all else. But, for all your love, you have found yourself woefully incapable of convincing your sister to actually attend your classes. She's become more and more ensconced with her research these last 6 months. Ever since she stumbled upon the findings of one Dr. Goodwin. Upon discovering this enigmatic doctor's thesis on life after death, your sister has redoubled her efforts to eradicate all illness, all diseases, the very concept of death itself. So enamored even, has she been. She has stopped attending classes. She has stopped going outside. She has become a complete recluse, and were it not for you, you fear she might have wasted away already in this prolonged pursuit of knowledge. Naturally, you tried to dissuade your sister from focusing too intently on Dr. Goodwin's thesis. You tried to impress upon your sister the importance of her studies, and how wonderful an opportunity it is that she was accepted into university at all. You know you told her, in a fit of passion, women aren't often allowed to admittance into universities. These are places for men, where they all learn how to dissect bodies, how to take people apart, how to hold its life itself in the palm of their hands. That she was accepted is a miracle in and of itself. Could she not make the most of this opportunity, which she has yearned for so ardently? Why does she not content herself with studying medicine, so that she might help more people, just as she helped Safi? Does she not remember how happy she made you, when she cured your poor beloved doll of her awful ailment? Just think of how many people she could make happy, if only she was willing to work for it. You said all this and more to your sister, hoping it might sway her, but your words were ineffectual. They rolled off her like water drumming against the canopy of an umbrella. I know, your sister replied in the slow and sleepy voice of hers. That I'm lucky being allowed to study here. It's once in a lifetime opportunity, which is why I can't throw it away. If I don't indulge in my studies now, Caro, I'll never get a chance. I won't have access to all these books, all the equipment I have been loaning from the biology department. I'm not throwing this opportunity away. It's the opposite. I'm making sure the only opportunity I have is the way I know how. Your sister stood firm against your dissent. For of course she did. She always has been so determined, despite being so diminutive. So dogged in her pursuit of the one ultimate truth. You knew that she would never listen, and that she is far too stubborn. So in the end, you folded just as you always do. Sometimes you wish you had been harsher with her. But you fear if you had spoken to her too sharply, she would have turned away from you altogether. Then you would no longer have a sister. There would be a hole in your heart, where once your love for her lay, and you would never have broken. Your sister is your sun, who eliminates your dreary days. It is she who gives you a purpose, and it is about her you revolve. Without her, you would not know what to do with yourself. You need her. Sorry. Without her, you would not know what to do with yourself. You need her, and you cannot deny the shiver of delight you feel when she calls you by your childhood nickname. Caro. My Caro. To others, you are Caroline. A posh, proper name, but not to her. To your sister, you've always been Caro. You knew the moment she addressed you thus that any argument you might have thought to make would be summarily deranged, defanged. I can't read English words. I'm gonna go quickly run to dehydrate and be back in a minute with some more of this. Be back. I'm back. She may be small, but you've never been able to stand up to her. She holds all the cards, and perhaps she knows this. She is a scientist after all. She likes to take things apart and see what makes them tick. She always has done, ever since she was a small child. In her youth, She would take snuff boxes apart its hinges and pry open the cases of carriage clocks, solely to see how they fit together. In the beginning, she was not always been able to put these delicate, finicky antiques back together, but she soon learned. Only master horologist can best her when it comes to understanding the shape and form of any kind of clock. From a large grandfather clock, the smallest of pocket watches. Her thirst for knowledge is unquenchable. If she can take apart a grandfather clock, then you are certain she can take you apart too, breaking you down to your core components. She knows what comprises you, and she knows only too well what strings to pull to bend you to her will. You have no will of your own, not where she is concerned. You've always been incapable of saying no to her. You prepare her food, you clean her clothes, and you also, during days like this, wake her from her slumber, because she might face the day anew. You observe her for a few moments, marveling at how unguarded she looks while asleep, how small and finely formed her features. Her nose is snub, her lips are pursed like an angel's, and her eyelashes are very long. Her dainty fingers look like a doll's. The nails are surprisingly neat despite the messy nature of her experiments. Her nails are pale at the tips, a soft rose color. Her nails are pale pink at the tips, a soft rose color, which looks almost as though they have been painted, glossed, and buffeted to perfection. You think her perfectly adorable, even if she had begun to drool in her sleep. Despite that, you cannot help but love her. You love her as you have always loved anything, indeed anyone else. And you are sure that will never change. You continue to observe her, content to bask in her soft sleeping form, for, with a smile, you lean in. Gently, you wipe away the string of drool stuck to her chin. In your voice light, you tell her to wake up. She has fallen asleep on her desk again, and she has scattered her important documents everywhere. Though they cannot be all that important, you add, with a teasing smile. If they were, surely you wouldn't have drooled on them. What? This, at least, is enough to make your sister stir. She blinks, then says, I wasn't, was I? Oh yes, you rejoin, with the enthusiasm of a pantomime villain. You were. No, your sister says, though she sounds less certain this time. I wasn't. Really? You rejoin, while raising an eyebrow. Do you want to bet on that? What are you betting? You ponder for a moment, one hand resting against your chin. Then in a flash of inspiration, you say maybe a slice of apple pie? What? Are you baking a pie? Not right now, you tell your sister, but you might. So long as she's willing to admit that she really does drool in her sleep, like any other mortal. Yeah, but don't admit to it? Well, that's too bad. But there'll be no apple pie for her. No pie? Slowly, your sister sits, stretching out the crinks in her arms and neck like a cat. Then pouting, she says, That's not fair. You're plain dirty. I know, you rejoin, but I have to when I'm with you. You don't leave me with much of a choice when you're so stubborn. Now, are you prepared to admit that you do, in fact, drool? There's a pause. She looks up at you, sullenly, and then says, maybe sometimes. You grin. Better one. For now, at least. And rest an arm upon her head. Roughly, you pat her. Your sister pouts. And then tell her you'll make a start on the pie later. First, however, you need to make her presentable. Her hair is an awful mess. Why, it looks like a bird's nest. A bird's nest. I think. Your sister rejoins, as you retrieve a brush from the table, that you're exaggerating. There are no twigs or sticks in my hair. Well, that should go without saying. Nor goes outside. So, when would the opportunity arise? Now you address your sister. What still? You introduce the brush to your fair tresses, which are so messy, they threaten to devour the brush whole. Then, start to comb. You comb your sister's hair slowly, which she squirms like a grumpy cat. She's never enjoyed these little grooming routines. You know she cannot see the point, not when she spends so much time indoors. It's like tending to her. It makes you feel as though you have a purpose, a raison d'être, as the French would say. She gives you a reason to exist. A reason to simply be. Without your sister, you're not sure what you would be. Who you would be. If there was something to be at all alarming about that thought, you chose not to dwell on it. That's dumb. Nothing dumb about that at all. It's very normal and healthy. You push your concerns into your subconscious, where they need never bother you. Then your voice chirps. Your voice chirpy. You ask your sister if she has any plans for the day. Marigolds. You beg her pardon? You incline your head, still holding the brush, and blink. This is another one of your sister's idiosyncrasies. You will ask her a question, and she will reply with a single word, as if this constitutes a robust and well-formed answer. You spend enough time with your sister that often you tease the deeper meanings behind her lack of communication. At other times, however, you find yourself quite in the dark. What, you ask her, does she mean? What about marigolds? They're peonies. Look what you've done to my peonies. They're marigold. She's right, they are marigold. I may not know my flowers, but I know a pitch when I see one. Sorry, that's fucking old. My brain, lol. Your sister sighs. Her small shoulders slump, as if it ought to be obvious. And her voice quiet, she says, I need to pick some marigolds for a tonic. A tonic? Yes, a tonic. I want to conduct an experiment. See what effects marigold have upon a person's pain receptors. Naturally, I'll test it myself. It won't be toxic. Right! You're not wholly convinced about that. Your sister's definition of not toxic seems to differ from that of ordinary people. But you try not to be too perturbed. Marigolds are not a rare and exotic ingredient. They are purchased rather cheaply in bouquets in the florists, and you know, there are a lot of them by the riverbank. In fact, you find yourself hitting upon an idea. You tell your sister that, if she needs to gather marigold, you might as well go together. You know a place where they bloom in abundance, if she wishes to come with you. What? Your sister looks at you flatly, her eyes narrowed, lips pursed together in a flat, speechless line. Why do I want to do that? Well, why not? Was she hoping you would fetch the marigolds for her ill-gotten experiments for her? That's exactly what I was hoping, your sister says. And my experiment isn't ill-gotten. There's nothing suspicious about it. It sounds like she's protesting too much. No, there really isn't. It will be perfectly safe. You hope so, else she won't be able to enjoy your apple pie later. I'll enjoy it. It will be delicious. Lightly, you laugh. You're glad your sister has so much faith in your baking, at least. But you feel there is one thing she ought to know. What? Food always tastes better, you say lightly, when enjoyed after one has done some physical exercise. Is she sure she doesn't wish to come and pick the marigold with you? Yes. Your sister replies flatly. I'm sure. But doesn't that seem like a waste? It's a lovely day and you insist the birds are singing, the sun is shining, and time waits for no one. I have work that needs to be done. And yet, you join. She does not mind putting her work aside for a few minutes to enjoy a slice of freshly baked apple pie. That is different. In what regard? I like your apple pie, but I don't like going outside. It's horrible. Well, now, that is a shame. You don't think the outside is bad, really? I know you don't. That's why I want you to go free. Isn't it a little sad? A genius of her caliber, consigned herself indoors all the time. I never said I was a genius. That's the title you've given me. I didn't ask for it. No, you suppose she didn't. She barely ever asks for anything. Often she is so ensconced in her research that she doesn't ask you, or anybody else for that matter, for anything. Your sister isn't especially demanding. Not most of the time, at least. But still, you feel compelled to impress upon her genius. She may not think of herself as such, but you do. You think she is wonderful when it comes to biology, at least, and chemistry, and how bodies fit together. Hey yo, she's less so when it comes to the rest of the world. There are curious gaps in her knowledge, for when your sister does not care about something else, she does not try to understand it. She's content to be wholly ignorant in some affairs, cooking and cleaning, and sometimes, though you hesitate to admit this, other people's feelings. But your love for her is stronger than her apathy, and you're determined to win her over. Tell your sister that she must go outside every once in a while. And if she doesn't want to, it will do her some good. Being able to stretch, to walk, to feel the sunlight on your face. I doubt it. Your sister says mistrustfully, as you continue to run the brush through your hair. Too much exposure to the sunlight can damage your skin. That is true, you reply. But surely she is in no immediate danger of that. She goes outside so rarely. You fail to see how harm could ever come. You fail to see how it could harm her every once in a while. One can never be too careful. I don't want to take any chances. You understand, but you worry she will sicken all the same. Sunlight or no, she gets no exposure whatsoever. Is that important to get her? Is that important to get her heart pumping? I would rather not. I can't stand sweating. Nishta replies, her brow furrowed. But then she catches your eye, and she sighs. Well, alright then. She eventually capitulates, and she often tends to when you really press her. If you insist, I suppose you can go on a little walk. You resist the urge to punch your fist in the air in victory. You do not want to seem too smug. And instead smile. That's 1 point for you, and none for your sister. You finish brushing your sister's hair, to compel her to stand, thing which takes more effort than one might imagine, given she's so sly. Then, you continue to tend to her, tucking in her blouse, and straightening her skirt. Eventually, you are assured she is presentable, and you offer her the crook of your arm. Well, you tell her, your voice sunny. Shall we go? Your sister looks at you questionably, a furrow forming in her brow. There is a small pause, and then, if I must. Your sister twines her arm through yours. You have just a suppress the resultant rush of euphoria, then lean against you. Wide-eyed, she blinks up at you and she says, "Is this all right?" "Why, of course it is! There's nothing you want more than to wander outdoors with your sister, arm in arm. You can wish for no greater privilege in the world." "I think you're exaggerating," your sister says with a small, rare smile. My company isn't all that riveting, really." "Ha! For a genius, it would seem there's a lot she's still ignorant of." "But I'm glad you think so. Would you mind leading the way?" "It would be your pleasure." You depart, letting the door to your rooms fall shut behind you. It is a pleasant day, like you had hoped, and the sky overhead is very blue, broken only by a few clouds. You think it is pleasant, at least, though your sister seems not to agree. She cringes away for the sunlight like a vampire, although vampires, of course, do not exist. They're not very scientific. Acting like a cat. You look at her askant. It's too bright for her. Her arm tightens about your own, just like a lost child. Is she? For all her intellectual intellect, afraid of venturing outdoors. She says, "I'll be fine. We'll just take a while to adjust." You suppose you can understand that. She doesn't go outside very often. Your reclusive genius of a little sister. When was the last time you went outdoors? Your sister's brow furrows in thought. She blinks and says, "When she mentioned it, I don't remember. It must have been maybe 2 months." 2 months? It's been worse than you feared. You thought it had been weeks at the very least. But you and your sister have both been busy. Time flies, or so they say, when you are having fun. And you always have fun when you are with your sister. You cannot help but enjoy how much she needs you. It is one of the few things in life which makes you feel powerful. You let your sister cling to you as you walk along the riverbank, leading the way around the veranda. The veranda. Gently sloping banks, which look like something out of fairy tale. Sloping. I can't read. Sloping. Not slopping. Sloping. The soles of her shoes crunch against the grass, and as you walk, you cannot stop yourself from smiling. Your sister might be a genius, but she cannot conduct her experiments on her own. You are irreplaceable. And this thought is enough to put a spring in your step during your wanderings. You're able to find the flowers your sister needs by the riverbank, swiftly enough, but you have no desire to end your excursion there. It has been 2 months since your sister had last exited her atelier, and it would seem a shame to return so soon. Since you were able to persuade her to step outdoors, you might as well enjoy the moment a little longer. You glance at your sister, a small smile playing on your lips, and you ask her what she would like to do now. Does she have any plans? She blinks and says, I always have plans. Now that we have these marigolds, I have to brew this tonic. Time is of the essence, yes! She said that once already. But why is she always in such a hurry? Your sister has always been devoted to her peculiar experiments. Ever since she was a young girl, you get the distinct feeling that she has been pushing herself even harder than usual. Is there any particular reason? Oh, you know me. Mr. replies, glancing away from you as she speaks. They say the devil works hard for idle hands, and you all have limited time on this earth, and I don't want to waste it. You cannot see the logic behind that. Certainly. But you are concerned that if your sister spends too much time of her limited time indoors, she will forget what makes life worth living in the first place. You're worried about me, then? Well, of course! How could you not be worried about her? She is your beloved sister! There is nobody in the world you love more than her, obviously. Your sister laughs lightly at this, and to your surprise, she sits down. Her skirt pulls about her, just like unfurled petals of a flower. She says, "That's rather funny." You can sit beside her, just by her sister, on the riverbank, and look at her, ask it. What is funny? That you love me so much. You didn't care for me when I first moved in with you. Not in the slightest, in fact. I think you rather hated me. Well, she wasn't wrong there. That was a long time ago. You were a child then. And anyways, you have loved her for far longer than you have hated her. I suppose. Your sister says, fishing among the grassy bank for a flower. She plucks it, then toys with it, pulling off the velveteen petals one by one. A small smile plays about her lips, her eyes behind the lens of her glasses. She says, "This reminds me of something." Of what? Of that game we used to play as children. The one with the flowers. If you peel off the petals, you can determine whether somebody loves you. Or simply say. That's funny. It is all superstition, naturally. These flowers know no more than my love life than the stars in the sky. But I suppose it's rather romantic. Surprised your sister remembers these childish games of yours, conducted in the garden. Is she not too grown for them? I ought to be, I suppose. I am an adult now. I ought to be, I suppose. I'm an adult now. But I was happy then, with you. I might have played these funny games with you, but it was only ever your love I wanted. And she still has it. You reassure her. You have never once stopped loving her. Not since you left. Not since you saved Safi. Yes, I know. You have been very good to me. But I fear I haven't always been good to you in return. Your sister hangs her head, her brow furrowed. What the fuck is this thing I'm looking for? Brow furrowed. She plucks another flower from the grass, yanking it by its stem, and another, and another. There's a moment of silence, and then... Carol? Yes? What is it? You're right when you say I've been overworking myself. I'm aware of my conduct has been less than ideal, and it is certainly less than sisterly. I fear I've been neglecting both you and myself. I need to focus, otherwise I'm afraid I will fall behind. that all of my hard work will be for naught. I have to make something of myself. I vowed when my mother died, I would dedicate myself to being a scientist who would surmount the difference. Who could surmount the difference between life and death. One who would ensure nobody need cry like I did. If I don't want anybody to suffer, I just don't want anyone to suffer. Sorry. Fucking coughing there. Yes, you did think that was something like that. Yes, you did think it was something like that. Is that why she's been working so hard? That and I need to prove myself. You know, when I stopped attending my lectures, I told you it was because the professors had nothing they could teach me. You can recall that that well. You thought it was a shocking arrogant remark coming from your sister, who has always been so humble despite her razor-sharp intellect. You did wonder whether something had happened, but you did not want to pry. Yes, I know. Yes, I know you knew that something had happened. I could tell. You aren't my precious sister for nothing. You know so much about me. I wonder why I bothered to keep it from you. Perhaps it was my pride getting in the way, as per usual. For somebody so small, I have an abundance of it. Maybe I have an abundance of it because of my size. I wonder. It does not bode well. You frown, then ask your sister what she means. Did somebody at the university insult you? It might be quicker to listen to people in that hateful institution who did not insult me. Your sister says somberly, still picking up the flowers. She now has quite the collection of them. My fellow students often looked down on me for being a woman. My professors were even worse. Some of them were not too bad. I was rather fond of old Armand, but the others certainly thought it was beneath them to teach me a woman. They looked down their noses at me, and they made no attempt to hide it. It was all so very exhausting. You digest your sister's words in silence, your head hanging. You are somewhat surprised to hear her say this, but you are not surprised that this happened. You've never been to university yourself, but you have heard that universities are haunts of men. And prideful, pompous men at that. While more women are attending universities now, your sister is still something of a trailblazer. She is spearheading a new wave of female scholars, and while you're proud of her, you did imagine she would struggle to fit in. You're concerned for your sister when first she moved here, but you try not to show it. You do not want your sister to think you were fussing. You try to remain optimistic, yet you cannot forget the haunted look on your sister's face when she returned home from her first day on campus. She looked dead in the eyes, as you have never before seen her, utterly defeated. She wandered through the atelier slowly, like a clockwork toy, which would run down, and she did not sit at her desk to review her notes. Instead, she collapsed on her bed, in your shared room, not shared bed, shared room, maybe a shared bed, but not gonna. And there she lay on her front for hours. I've never seen your sister, your fierce, determined sister looked so defeated. That she was able to pull herself up and continue attending her classes after that was something of a miracle. And it seems that, in the end, she was not able to keep at it. She was worn down too much. I'm sure I could have learned many interesting things. She says, her voice bitter. Right, given the opportunity. It is hard to pay attention when it is apparent your mere existence is a cause for offense. The atmosphere was so horribly oppressive. It is hard to pay attention, but it does not help that my fellow classmates scorned me. Most of them were cruel and callous, and those who weren't seemed to touch too interested in me. I could never let my guard down, not for a second. They claimed to be learning men, but many of them were far from it. They were remarkably childish. I could not bear to keep attending only to be mocked by my efforts. I thought it best to retire to my atelier to carry out my own experiments unimpeded. But it is important, you understand, that I make some sort of breakthrough. I want to make a great discovery quickly, so that I might rub my success in the faces of my professors and my peers, those who were short-sighted enough to scorn me. I want to prove to them that I deserve to earn my scholarship, that I deserve to call myself a scientist. I wish to make a great breakthrough that will make even make them gnash their teeth together in envy. It will make them feel as little as pathetic as they had made me feel. I want to show them that they are the truly stupid ones. I want to best them at their own game. Carol, I'm so sure Dr. Gordon's thesis will help me. I'm so close on hitting upon something big. I'm sure of it. I just need to work a little harder. My goal will soon be in my sight. But until I have accomplished that, I cannot give up. I have to keep working. It's the only way I can prove to myself that my existence was worth it. That it was not some mistake. My mother died instead of me. I have to do this. Until I succeed in my research, I am nothing. I have nothing. Listen to your sister's impassioned speech quietly, as you often do whenever she begins to soliloquy. Your sister is not a talkative person in general. She tends to keep to herself, to communicate in monosyllables. She only speaks like this when she is truly excited about something, or else truly upset. You fear that her research into the nebulous land of the dead is a fool's errand, yet you want to reassure her regardless. Your sister is a genius, after all. She can do no wrong. Though, she is mistaken on one point. Oh? Your sister blinks. She inclines her head and says, "What's that?" She does not have nothing. You are here for her, after all. And you are not left. And you have not left. Come what may, you'll always be by her side. Your sister inhales. She blinks and then says, "Always?" Yes, you reassure her. Always. Oh, Carol. Sometimes I think you're the only person who understands me. The only person I can rely on. The only person I can turn to. I just hope that you don't hate me for what I might become. Hate her? You frown, then ask her why she would say that. You could never hate her. Really and truly? Yes, you reassure her. Without a moment's pause, you mean every last word. You will never turn against her, and that is a promise. How could you, when you love her so much? Oh, Kara. Your sister's expression softens, like sunlight spilling through the gaps in the gray and gauzy tree. Gauzy clouds. I can't read words. You can read words. We can all read words. Decently. She leans in, her face is a little flushed, and for one mad moment, you think that she might kiss you. You're half expecting it, actually. Your eyelids are beginning to fall shut when... I always knew I could trust you. You might not be related to me by blood, but you will always be my sister to me. Your sister reaches out. You see her holding something. A circle made of delicate orange marigolds, picked from the tall grass which sways along the riverbank. Your sister's hands are nimble and quick, and though she is trained with a scalpel, she can cut open several cadavers before she stopped attending her classes. Destruction is not the only language she is well versed in. She is also gifted in the art of creation. And the crown she has fashioned for you, out of these lovely golden orange marigolds, is so beautiful you could weep. If only you could preserve it in formalin. The crown and this rare afternoon spent together by the riverbank. Then you think you could face any hardship without flinching. The memories of your sister in this precious moment remain in your heart forevermore, and you would never have to feel sad or unwanted or uncertain again. You return to the atelier soon enough after this little talk, with your sister's marigolds in hand. You're not gone very long after all. Only an hour or so, if that. But the brief time spent outdoors has cleared some of the cobwebs from your head. Your mind feels clear. Your body has been in brand new strength. Ready to face anything, now that you know how much your sister needs you. The memory of your body pressing against your spurns you, just like a brand. You sigh from it. You've often worried, from the day you realized how much you loved her, that she might leave you. But your excursion, has wiped all such doubts from your head. You feel reborn, revitalized even, as your sister says, now that we have the flowers, will you prepare them for me? Like I said, this tonic won't be poisonous. I don't mean to mix anything suspect into it. You wish you could take your sister's reassurance and face value, but part of you wonders this might not be the first time she's lied to you. Most of your sister's lies are the white variety, utterly to put you at ease, but it is a trick she has resorted to one too many times. Are you sure? You ask her, hands on your hips, in tincture. You will not be poisoned? It will not be poisoned? Are you really, truly sure? Yes. Your sister replies, her composure unwavering. I'm sure. The worst it can do is make me good. The worst it can do to me is give me an upset stomach. All the same, you would rather not risk. Especially when you promised to bake her an apple pie earlier. Is there any way to record the results of this curious tonic? Not initially. You would need to give it some time. I want to try it, though. Of course she does. Your sister is adventurous, and she's willing to try almost anything, even the most poisonous parts of a pufferfish, at least once. If not for you and your presence, she would have killed herself at least a dozen times over from her curiosity. But you are there for her, and you can dissuade her against her more problematic impulses. You know when your sister is lying, too. And you think, though you do not know, she is probably telling the truth about these herbs. They are probably safe. You do not want to risk incurring her disappointment. In any case, if you were to throw them away, and doing so would avoid the value of your walking along the riverbank. You do not want to let her down, so after a pause, you acquiesce. You will brew this tonic for her, if that is what she really wants. A wish is my command. Thank you, the sister says. A brief nod of her head. It is appreciated. While you do that, you will turn to Spartacus, and there are a few more experiments I wish to run on him. Poor Spartacus! Smile wryly, then tell your sister. You feel rather bad for him. Your poor, ill-used tortoise, who has lived, surprisingly enough, for all those experiments, almost 70 years. Spartacus is a hand-me-down, a wise, wrinkly creature with one who once belonged to your grandmother. Your grandmother cherished Spartacus when she was a young girl, younger than you are now, and she was later bequeathed Spartacus to her daughter, your mother. Your mother, in turn, gave Spartacus to you, and your sister, who was never able to leave well enough alone, wound up co-opting him. Your sister began her particular experiments on Spartacus in earnest shortly after she repaired poor Sapphi's sightless eyes. With your permission, she would time him to see how quickly he could walk down the length of the hallway. The answer to that was not very. How many lettuce leaves he could eat in an hour. She timed how long he slept, his reaction to both hot and cold, and she recorded his stools. Your sister's experiments became more intrusive as the years passed, and now she often has Spartacus hooked up to various cathodes and diodes. Not that Spartacus seems to very much mind. He endures his suffering in a serene, graceful manner, like an old man who knows his time will come soon to close. You do not always like the things your sister does, Spartacus, but you think, or like to think, that your sister loves him really. She did just kill him, at least, which seems like something of a miracle. You are somewhat hesitant to let your sister toy with your poor tortoise. Then even more. But you know, if you say anything, she won't frown and say she is not toying with him. Your sister takes all lives very seriously. You know the life of a tortoise. I do not play. Your sister always says, her voice cool. This is all for the good. Don't nag so much, dear Caro. That's right, you tell yourself. Don't nag, Caro. Leave your sister alone. You're both adults now. You can learn to get along. You need to learn to get along. You tell your sister she may do with Spartacus what she pleases, and she nods sleepily in response. Of course I can. He's mine after all. Of course, you reply, with a nod of recognition. Everything that is yours is your sister's. But the same does not hold true that everything that is hers is yours. There is definite imbalance here, an inherent unfairness, which underpins your interactions. But you love your sister so much you do not want to question it. What does it matter if she runs electric currents through poor Spartacus at odd hours? It does not alter how you feel about her. You do not think anything could. You love her so much, you wish that things could stay like this indefinitely. You and her and your elderly tortoise who accepts being tortured with the benign nod of his head. But you know that this is wishful thinking. Nothing can remain the same forever. As living beings, you naturally exude kinetic energy. Your lives are constantly in a state of flux, especially your sister. A few days follow after your journey to the riverbank. You and your sister have been in a curious mood since. She constantly paces about the atelier like a caged tiger, and she has been muttering to herself with alarming frequency. You can hear muttering now and then as you try to work, her plaintive tones breaking your cocoon of concentration. No good. It's not enough. It's nowhere near enough. Your sister mumbles, sounding more upset than you have ever heard her, and upset than you knew she could be. You look bemused, then lift your head. You stare at your sister, who in turn, staring down at herself. She is looking down at her arm, so pale and slender, with the sleeve of her shirt rolled up. Her arm is very pale, but it is pock-marked, here and there with red bumps and lumps, curious burns, old scars, new scars, and blue-black bruises. You know that your sister has performed any number of peculiar experiments on herself. How she often brings her fingertips to the flame to see how long she can hold them, drawing her own blood from her inside of her arm, scrapes away from her dead skin to examine beneath the lens of a microscope. The sight of the bruised arm is not, therefore, too shocking. You are aware of your sister's peculiar proclivities, as it were. Know every single cut and burn and bruise on her arm as though they were your own. But all the same, you do not like the disconsolate way she is looking at herself. Your sister is examining her injured, bruised arm as if she claims no ownership of it, as if she does not know it. And in the disconnect in her eyes which makes you shudder. What does she mean is not enough? She's been planning to cut her whole arm off next. Is she? Solely to see how she might react? What? She replies, her voice cold. There's a pause, and then... Oh, no, of course not. I never just think like that to myself. That's what she says. At least, it doesn't sound wholly convincing. Can she promise you that? Naturally, I promise. I'm a scientist first and foremost, you know. And I need both my arms to conduct my experiments. It would only impair my research if I hurt myself too much. Which is where the problem lies, actually. The problem? Yes, there's a problem. I'm experimenting on myself this last couple of months. Yuri says, her voice detached. My own body has run its course. I fear I can't extract any more useful information out of it. If I continue to ramp up these experiments, I will hurt myself. I cannot let that happen, but I cannot stop my research either. I still want to reverse death, but I can only learn so much from the death from studying the living. Dead rats are all well and good, but so are dead cats, but they aren't humans. Their anatomy is not the same as ours. There's only so much you can glean from them. They, too, have outlived their usefulness. Here your sister pauses. She inhales. Your sister is not one for theatrics. She's very matter-of-fact in all she does, and do not think she means to create any suspense. Not deliberately, at least. She's simply pausing to think how best to word her following statement. You know she does not want to make you squirm, and yet... So, Yuri says, heedless to the knot which has begun to form in the pit of your stomach. Need more human bodies to experiment upon. Dead bodies lies the only way I will be able to get this information that I need. I know it might be macabre, but I think it's the next logical step. You don't agree? Yusha's eyes bore into you, cold and hard, so you shiver. For a few moments, you do not speak. You do not know what to say. Though you doubt there is anything you can say, it seems unlikely, as a second tick by, that there is anything you can do to dissuade her. Anything that might be able to curb her mounted madness. You tried once before to wait a little. To lift a veil. I can't read. Though she is your beloved sister, the most precious person to you in the world, she refused to listen to you. Her entreaties, earnest though they were, could not reach you. Earnest. Entreaties. I can't read. Entreaties. She's always been determined to walk her own path. She is headstrong to a fault, and once she has set her heart to something, she never wavers. You know, therefore, that she will not let this subject rest. Now that she has decided that she wishes to experiment upon corpses, there is no going back. But still, you feel compelled to offer up at least a token of resistance. It seems like the very least you could do, grimly aware though you are that it will soon be swept away. You inhale one hand upon your chest, then ask her to reconsider. If she wishes to cut open corpses, can she not attend her lectures again? They have plenty of material she can use, without having to resort to hearing them herself. Surely that would be more ethical. I can't just go back to university. Nisha argues, her eyes wide behind the lens of her glasses. I won't go back there. Not until my research has made great strides. And to do that, I need to find more bodies. I'll not be able to get anywhere at this rate. You understand her frustration, of course, but you cannot say that you like this idea. Is there not any other way? No. Nisha says, her voice stiff. If there was, I wouldn't have suggested it. It would be illogical otherwise. Well, she has a point. You can't argue with that. Then don't argue with me, Carol, please. Mr. rises as she speaks onto her slender, deer-like limbs. She takes a step forth, then reaches out. She presses her fingers to your yielding flesh, digits splayed as she entreats you. I need your help. I can't do this alone. I'm trusting you with this. The future of my research rests upon your shoulders. Can you not aid me? You shudder, all of a sudden. Your mouth feels dry, your throat too, as if it's just been stuffed full of ashes. I have two things here. Okay. Okay, we're good. For a few moments, you cannot speak. You can only blink. There's a pause. And then, I'm not asking you to kill anybody, Carol. I would ever ask you to become a murderer for me. But just think of the future. Think of a world where nobody needs to die. I think that is worth the sacrifice to do. And a few exhumed graves. A few? One exhumed grave is tall order already, but... Alright, disregard that. One is enough for now. It is more than enough. I just have a cadaver here, so I will examine it properly. You just need to dig up this grave. I'm sure you can find some pauper's grave. Somebody who got be missed. You're sure she's right. But putting the practical concerns to one side, does she not think that awful macabre? You fear if you were to dig up a corpse, you would never be admitted to heaven. Not after committing to wicked sin. Would that not make the evil? I fear to see how. Dogs dig up bones all the time. Does that make them evil? Well, no, your reply. But that is an unfair argument. Dogs cannot be evil because they have no concept of morality. Then do away with your own notion of morality. Don't let it scare you against the greater good. There are many people, you know, who have lived lives devoid of meaning. They lived, they drank, they grumbled, and they whored, and they died in ignominy. These are pointless lives, worthless lives, even one might say. But in depth, I can bestow new meaning upon them. I can make them worth something. Do you think this is a wonderful thing? You look at your sister, mutely, her palms still cupping your cheeks, her eyes so wide and searching, you could drown in them. You would hesitate to call this wonderful. Your sister's determination, her raw, unshakable certainty, makes you shudder. But in the end, you capitulate to her whims. You have no other choice. Your sister knows exactly where to push and what to press and where to pull to make you fall into her line, to make you obey. And you would not have it any other way. Fucking weirdo. It is because of your sister that you find yourself in the local graveyard later that night, with nothing but a lantern and to light your way. It's a dark, cold night. Not quite stormy. Not yet, at least. Though based on the grey clouds which swirl overhead, a storm isn't beyond the recent realm of possibility. You would draw your shawl upon you, but your hands are otherwise unencumbered, occupied by the handles of a wheelbarrow, which you co-opted from your dark fitting. Except for all the noises. The noises. You intend to use this barrow to transport the corpse from the churchyard to your home. The corpse you will most definitely dig up and bequeath to your sister, for that is what she wants. It is what she asks of you. Inside the barrow is your trusty lamp, which cleaves a path through the bog, and your shovel, which you need to exhume the graves. Both your hands are occupied, pushing the barrow forth, so you cannot pause to wind your shawl over you. All you can do is tremble instead, feeling like a small, sad, piteous thing as the wind moans. It is very well past midnight, and there are no lights in the immediate vicinity. The windows of the church are dark, and the nearby houses have shutters, their curtains drawn. At least you have moon to guide you. The moon to guide you, round and full like a wheel of cheese in the heavens, but it is obscured by clouds. You can only see a few slivers of the moon, but what little you can gather looks ghostly, ominous, maybe a little too close. You swear when you glance up that you can see a face in the moon's pitted, aged surface. Well, a face with large, dark eyes and a sneering mouth which seems to mock you from afar with cold contempt. The wind sighs, however, throwing the clouds like a witch's brew, and you look up once more. You cannot see the malevolent face grinning at you. Did you imagine it? Surely you must have. You are. Never. Well, of course you are. It's awfully late, and you cannot help but jump at the smallest things. You hear ominous whispers in the background, undergrowth even. Feel cold fingers of frog brushing your ankles with every single step you take. Every sound, no matter how subtle, makes your heart stammer in your chest. While every sigh of the breeze sounds like an omen. You do not want to keep going. You want to get rid of this night. To flee from it curled up beneath your sheets. The darkness of the fog and the ominous moonlight cannot reach you. But your promise to your sister prevents you from running. You cannot look back now. You cannot bear to disappoint her. The thought is enough to break your heart, which has never been made of certain stuff. Have you always been so weak, you wonder, with each step you take? When did you become so pathetic? Ah, you really are pitiful. Your love for your sister has turned you into a fool. But that is what love is, I'm afraid. It makes idiots out of all of us. Especially weak, spineless creatures like you. With no dreams or aspirations of your own. You wander through the churchyard, just pressing the tall grass underfoot, hearing a soft, subtle crunch as it falls beneath your soles. You glance about this way and that, and eyes narrowed, searching for a suitable target. You find an inauspicious grave, one which can be consumed without drawing too much attention. The churchyard is mismatched, motley collection of graves which spent centuries scattered across the grass, like pieces of bric-a-brac in the second-hand furniture shop. You see large, ornate graves which were obviously constructed for wealthy families, towering structures with stone angels atop them, their hands together in prayer. See smaller, humbler graves, fashioned to simple shapes, now a little weather-beaten crosses and books spread open, inscriptions chiseled in stone. The graves which look small and simple, discolored stone lozenges, yet it's clear they are still well cared for. Some of the larger gravestones, whose auspicious angles are bare of offerings, Nina's eyes overgrown with soft, springy moss. Some of the small gravestones, meanwhile, have clearly been well cared for. They've been cleaned recently, and there are small offerings lying out before them. Flowers, little candles, and jars, and, in one case, several boiled sweets, all wrapped up in colored paper. There's something touching about these little offerings. Something softly domestic. The sigh in the flowers. The sigh of the flowers, and especially the sweets, make you smile. The sight, not sigh, sight, amidst the tea. Perhaps the world is not so very cold and cruel after all. But you cannot spend too much time pondering these such things. You have not come here to examine these old graves, or to read the inscriptions carved into them. You are here to find a gift for your sister. A carcass that nobody will miss. The large, auspicious graves are no good. Even the ones which have been left to go rack and ruin. Somebody would notice if you disturb them. And anyway, some of these larger graves are ringed with wrought iron to prevent any ne'er-do-wells like you from getting to the bodies. Give the smaller, well-cared-for graves wide berth too. You cannot bring yourself to dig up a grave of a person whose family so routinely comes to give them offerings. And anyway, it is inevitable somebody would notice if you began to churn up all the dirt there. You bypass these graves, and continue to walk on, and eventually, you have the perfect target. There's one small, crumbling tombstone in the back of the churchyard. A tombstone so weathered and wasted to the wind and rain must have withered it down. This particular tombstone juts out from the ground, broken teeth, dark and decayed. Several cracks run through this tombstone, and a few pieces of it have broken, cracked lumps of granite scattered throughout the tall grass. This sad, sorry tombstone is shunted near the back of the courtyard, obscured beneath the shade of corpse. Dank, tangled elm tree. And it is at this tombstone that you pause. You approach it, squinting in the dark, holding your lantern aloft. You would like to know who is interred here, beneath the dirt, before you begin to dig, only so you can apologize to them for disturbing them. But the letters of the gravestone are almost illegible, incomprehensible. They have been worn away. That does not bode well if the corpse has been buried too long. This might very well have turned into a skeleton. The sister was not overly picky about what corpse she wanted, but she said she wished for it to have meat enough on the bone to cut into. You wonder whether you ought to double back yourself. Go for a newer, fresher grave. But this would be your safest bet if you do not want to be discovered. And did your sister not tell you the grounds of this courtyard are special? Mud is silty, and there are chemicals and compounds in the soil which can ease the process of decay. You do not know much about this yourself, though you have spent many years aiding your sister. You've never been as adept at science as she. But you decide to trust her on this matter. She asked you to exhume a corpse, and that is what you did. Will do. Your sister will have her pound of flesh one way or another. You cannot just hope that there is at least a pound of flesh still attached to this corpse, who has been sleeping beneath the earth for God knows how long. You do not want to disturb this nameless sleeper, who has been underground for a very long time. For so very long their name has been worn off the headstone. But what choice do you have? If forced to pick between a distended dead body and your sister's happiness would win over every single time. That is how much you love her. You inhale, the scent of dirt in your nostrils, bitter, acrid air. Sky overhead is dark and thick with clouds, and you think it might rain soon as it smells like rain. Part of you wishes it would, if only because it would put this night of madness to a close. You can hardly go disturbing dead bodies in the middle of a rainstorm. But another part of your hope is that the rain holds off for another hour or so, at least, so you can complete your sister's request. You do not want to go home empty-handed. You're determined that you are doing this for her. This has always been for her. So, it's your lamp to one side. You retrieve your shovel, which is lying in your barrow, tall and straight, and seemingly innocent. Innocuous, even. Then you press the sharp tip into the dirt and begin to dig. You dig and you dig and you dig. The silvery tips of the shovel slicing through the earth, and as you dig, you start to ponder. You feel somewhat guilty for disturbing somebody else's labor, overriding it with your own clumsy, inelegant scrabbling. This whole affair feels disrespectful, not just in regard to the dead, who have been slumbering peacefully beneath the ground, but towards the sexton, who must have buried these bodies in the first place. You're sure the sexton took a lot of time to inter this body beneath the dirt, in the darkness, but you are undoing it all. There's something disrespectful about it all. This act of vandalism makes you shudder. But still, you keep going. You dig and you dig and you dig and you dig through your arm begin to ache from the strains of it. Though even more sweat begins to bead upon your brow. It's not easy work. You're unaccustomed to physical labor. And every single arc of the shovel through the dark air makes your arm ache. Your fingers tense around the handle of the shovel, taut, and your breath escapes from beneath your lips. Pain gasps. Pain hisses, not gasps. The more you dig, the more it hurts. The strain on your body only continues to get stronger. The pressure almost unbearable. But bear it you do. You have no other choice. You work and you work and you work and over, until eventually silver head of your shovel hits something hard. Not a stone or a pebble, but something flat and smooth. Is that the coffin? You dig all the more, frenzied like a dog, until at long last, you're able to uncover your prize. It is indeed a coffin. A roughly hemmed wooden thing which has caved in from the pressure of all the dirt resting atop it. You had worried that you might need to fuss about the screws in the coffin in an attempt to pry them out, but you're in luck. You can already see the corpse interred within a glimpse of it at least. You just need to clear away the large splinters of broken wood. Then you can firmly free your prize, and you won't need to worry about nails. Simple. Well, it sounds simple when you say it like that, but nothing about this enterprise has been. You do not relish the thought of jumping down into the hole you've dug 7 feet deep, then prizing open the lid of a worm-eaten coffin. What choice do you have? You've already come this far. Have expected. Expose your prize. Before roving gaze. You can hardly back out now. You draw a deep breath, trying to steady yourself. Then into the darkness you descend. You let yourself into the hole you have dug, the dull thud. Shattering clods of dirt in the process. The soles of your shoes pressing against the shattered lid of the coffin, which ruptures beneath your weight, groaning as if in pain. Sound of the splintered coffin fills the churchyard, a low, pained cry like an animal in distress. For a few moments, you stand there, frozen, your blood ice cold with fear, but nobody comes to apprehend you. There is nobody to witness you in this appalling, arcane act. There is just you and the stars and the moon. Perhaps the moon can see you from beyond the veil of clouds which cover it. Perhaps it knows what you are doing. A large staring eye. But if it does, it passes no judgment. You cannot speak after all. The churchyard is eerily quiet, in fact. As you set about your macabre misdeeds, you prise open the lid for the coffin, traveling with your fingertips, the beds of your nails dark with dirt. You see no shortage of foliage. Finagling. I can read English words. You are not the fittest of the young ladies, but you are able to make progress. Slowly, you unveil your prize in the darkness depths of the coffin. The shell, the flesh, still there, but slowly. The slotting from the bones. The face sunken, and the eyes reduced to putrid jelly at the staring sockets. Smile is overwhelming. Smell is overwhelming. Trapped in its coffin, beneath the ground for God knows how long, the skin had rushed towards to greet you. The stench is intense and oppressive, so much so you have hardly the words. You don't know how you would describe this part of the grave robbing experience to anybody. But it's unlikely you will need to describe this to anybody save your sister. God, there's so much dirt. So much soil, and silt, and mud, and sludge, and slime. And it coats your hands, stains your skirts. You feel sick and oh so achy. Very all the way down to your bones and marrow. And what's that? Fuck. Look at your bones and marrow, the marrow which lies within them. I was right actually with the marrow first time. Well, please. But you are finished. You're not finished yet. Now you need to remove the exposed body from this hole. You need to extract it from the cavity you have created. Then convey it to safety. Are you taking this body to safety? It is unlikely, given your sister's designs upon it. Trap it. You know, based on how. So, it's unlikely your sister is just to design upon it. You know, based on how equally she disassemble things, that she will not be gentle with this corpse. She will take it apart, piece by piece, so to see how it all fits together. And based on her mood, she might not put it back together. Your sister always has in Mercurio. Whoops. A woman who will run electric currents through the cranium of an elder tortoise out of scientific interest is not to be trusted with a dead body. Maybe you've come this far. Maybe. But you've come this far. Once again, you did promise your sister. You will get your sister her flesh, raw and rotting, exuding the stink of the grave. How she treats it is none of your concern. Nothing else matters, save her happiness. You are able to haul the corpse out of the hole in the ground, though how you managed it is not quite sure. And then you just deposit it rather gracelessly in the barrow. The corpse is in surprisingly good shape, given it has been buried for such a long time, but it is brittle too. The bones fragile, like drinking kindling. You drop it into the barrel with a little too much force, and there is an unpleasant in the back of it. As the back of its head hits the barrow's rim, a right hand catches beneath its body. You would not be surprised if you had broken a few bones. You always have been clumsy, as poor Safi will attest. At least do not put out your new company's eyes. That might be quite the difficult task, given its eyes have more or less melted. A dark brown fluid sloshing around inside the sockets as if it were an oyster shell. You shudder. During your attempts to haul the corpse upwards, it begins to rain, with these icy droplets drums on you. Now these icy droplets drum on you, your scalp, shoulders, and down the back of your dress. When you glance back, you see the hole you have dug is in an awful state. It is swimming with water. The mud has turned red in the moon's light. Silty and scorching. You do not fancy going back to that hole you made to fill it up anew, but you must. You have no choice. You cannot let anybody know that you were there. If anybody were to see the gaping open hole left behind, they would know that you have what you have done, and their parent, and that would defeat the purpose of targeting this grave in the first place. You need to think more. Use your head. This is why your sister was admitted to university, not you. Think, Caroline. You approach the grave that you have dug, the deep rectangular hole, gaping in the damp earth. As you do, you wonder whether this is what you really desired. Did you make a mistake somewhere along the way? Certainly you would never dreamed of digging a hole in the dirt late at night for your sister's benefit and smearing yourself with soil into the rain, into the bargain. Oh, never mind. I wrote it down. You never realized how difficult it would be. Perhaps you didn't want to. You wanted to believe that if you survived your sister willingly, she would be gracious enough to see you as an equal. But is that really true? How can she see you as an equal when she has you running errands like this for her? Does that not prove she does not respect you? These thoughts swirl throughout your mind, dark and sinister. Just like the soil you shoveled back into the hole your pilfered corpse once called home. You heap the earth into the hole while the rain storms around you. So cold, you hiss about it from it. The ground is horribly muddy, yacht and unstable, and you almost fall forward in several occasions. Once you drop your shovel and your heart beating wildly, you fear you will pitch head first into your half-full hole, into the dark and darkness. But you're able to right yourself just in time before the worst is to happen. To relief, and upon gaining your bearings, wipe your sweaty brow with the back of your dirt arm. But now is no time to celebrate. You dug up a corpse, and it's waiting for you, now in a yellow wheelbarrow. You've committed a vile act, wicked and profane. You have committed a vile act, wicked and profane. Sorry, we're zoning out sometimes. You did it for love. You did it for your sister. You did it to make her smile. And as you packed the last of the dirt down into the grave you once exhumed, you find yourself wondering. Maybe the rain is God's way to saying he forgives you for your sin. Maybe the rain means to cleanse you of your crimes, to purify you from the outside in. Maybe there will still hope for you after all, child of God, who stray from the path so need readily. Salvation is ahead. You just need to reach out and grasp it. That is what you tell yourself. But the only thing you grasp are the handles of your barrel, where your putrefying burden waits. Here's the graveyard, gripping the barrel with all the while. Your shoes against the cobblestone as they do. You try to reassure yourself that you did nothing wrong. But you are only trying to aid your sister. It will all be alright. You've struggled too much tonight for it not to be fine. You continue to tell yourself this, repeating it like a mantra, as you wend your way through the streets with your gruesome package. Typically, it would not take much longer than 10 minutes for you to reach your home from the churchyard, but this, with your burden, the barrel, and the body within it, takes at least thrice that. You have to walk slowly, taking care as you navigate the cobblestone not to be seen. Every single sound makes you start. The laughter of distant drunken revelers, enough to make your heart seize up in your chest. You cannot risk anybody seeing you. Your hands stained with dirt or to the elbows in the gruesome burden which you are transporting. It takes a small eternity. Every single noise makes you startle. Eventually, you reach your destination. You arrive back home. You get yourself inside, graceful, the key clinking to the lock, and almost collapse in the entrance. You inhale deeply, pressing one hand to your chest as you try to gather your bearings. You have always thought the air in your atelier to be horrifyingly stuffy, but you welcome it now. You are tired after all that walking, and you are sick of the smell of the outside, the stench of that dirt, the air, the rain. You would like to draw yourself a bath, then dress for bed and sleep the rest of the night away, ensuring day two. Do you have your new companion to reach out? You cannot simply leave them in the entrance. Unwillingly, you look back at your guest. You take in its... You do not know if it's a man or a woman. Atrophied face, its bruised, broken hands, the mottled skin which slots like strips of torn linen from its chest. You suppress a shudder, your fingers tensing, nails sinking into your palms. Your knees weak, arms heavy, vomit already, mom spaghetti. Somehow, the corpse looks even worse in the light of your sister's atelier. You did not notice before in the dark how motley its skin was. Purple, green-like, like the fuzz or ripe peach. You did not realize how sunken its cheeks, how matted its hair, how putrid its eyes, or what remains of them. But this is what your sister wanted. This is what you asked for, and you've delivered. Now you need only present the fruits of your hard work to your sister. You force yourself to approach the corpse resting in the barrel, though the smell is truly atrocious, and seize the handles anew. Then, you wheel the barrel further into your atelier, into your inner sanctum. You take it to the study, where you and your sister often work, pouring at your respective desks surrounded by books. But to your disappointment, though not necessarily your surprise, your sister is not awake to greet you, your new guest. She has worn herself out again, and has fallen asleep at her desk. Her cheeks presses against her inner arm, her fair eyelashes matted. Her face is slightly flushed in slumber, though only slightly. Your chest rises and falls in sleep. You observe her for a few moments, gripping the handles of a barrow, and as you do, you are struck with a sudden, unexpected anger. What's she doing asleep? How could she slumber like this, without a care in the world, when she was just making you do all the dirty work? At least she could do is thank you for digging up this corpse like a dog, then graceful. But you take another look at her sister, so small and defenseless in her slumber, and your complaints die in your throat. You cannot even begin to bring yourself to utter them. Indeed, you feel guilty for ever thinking them. You cannot hurl such abuse at your sister. You love her after all. You must love her. If you do not, then why did you dig up this corpse to begin with? Stupid, you chastise yourself, your eyelids squeezing shut. You are so stupid. Well, never mind. You will simply leave the barrow here, then, by your sister's side. She will see the corpse when she wakes, and she will know instinctively what it means. She will know what you have done for her, and maybe then she'll understand how you really feel about her. Right now, that is the only hope you have to cling to. You wake the following morning to an unpleasant smell, one of iron. Your eyelids flutter open, disturbed by the unusual smell, thick and heavy, and uncomfortably cloying. The back of your head, meanwhile, throbs. You feel faintly sick, but for a few moments you cannot remember why. You lie in your bed, wondering why you feel so exhausted, why your limbs are aching so awfully. But it soon comes back to you in a horrible rush. You can still remember digging up that body. You wince as nausea rips through you, thick and fast. Your stomach roils. You remember the cloying smell of soil and rotting flesh, the stink of grave. And you almost vomit. Almost. But not quite. Vomiting now would be impractical. It would only make a mess that you would have to clean up later. It is better not to bother. And there are many other things you could be doing. You stink. You want a bath, and badly. But the pervasive smell of iron is so intense it banishes all rational thought. What is that smell? You have a vague idea, of course, but curiosity always spurs you onwards. You rise to your feet, though your legs feel weak, ready to give out beneath the weight of your body. Then exit your room. And you approach your sister's makeshift laboratory, the space which has once the room, which she is so co-opted for experiments. Is it from hers, or are you expected? It is from her. It is here, as you expected. The unpleasant stench is the strongest. You have an idea of what you might see inside, but before you open the door, before you can confirm the truth. But you still gasp at what you see, at what you knew would see. You're standing by a mortuary slab, purchased at an auction from an abandoned hospital. A large, grim piece of furniture, stained rust red from years of use. In one hand, your sister holds a scalpel. On her face, meanwhile, is a look of intense concentration. She is poring over the corpse you liberated from the churchyard last night, exhumed from its grave, only to be slit open from neck to crotch. The corpse looks almost bloated in the light of your sister's makeshift laboratory. Its face has turned purple, though perhaps it was always purple. You do not know. Its head hangs loosely, eyes like melted wax. Innards escaped from the cavernous hole in its stomach. Outsherds. Now, lol. You think with an inappropriate peal of anxious laughter. Oh, it's you. Don't stop telling me like that. It's your laughter, you think, which roused your sister's attention. She was so focused upon the corpse of the table, she might not have heard your approaching footsteps, the sound of the opening door. She doesn't hear your panicked giggle, however, and upon hearing it, she frowns. Would you shut the door, Caro? You're going to let the cold air. It's such a banal thing to say in the face of what she is doing, that it seems almost ludicrous. Once again, you have to suppress the urge to giggle. You bite the inside of your cheek, feeling fevered. Are you going to be insane? Or is this because of the rain last night? And apologize. Shut the door behind you, though you do not much want to. You do not want to trap yourself inside the room with a molding corpse. And ask your sister what she means to do. I thought that would be obvious. I'm dissecting the specimen you brought me. Well, yes, you see that. But why? I've already told you why. It's for science. You need to take apart Take it apart first. You have to learn how to put it back together. Just like your father's stuffed box. You remember? And the carriage clock? Yes, you say. Your voice hesitant. You understand that. But didn't you break your father's carriage clock? Some sacrifices must have been made for the sake of progress. Not that this is many a great sacrifice. They were already dead. You know that, but don't worry. I'm not doing this because I derive any sadistic pleasure from cutting open corpses. I'm doing this to help people. Remember what my aim is, Carol. Yes, you know. She wants to ensure that nobody has to suffer the same fate as her mother, who died slowly and painfully from consumption. She wants to save people. Thank you for the stretch, possum, and hydrate. Water. Yes, that's right. That's for the greater good. You see, I want to save people, but if I'm to do that, I need to understand how people work. Medical students do much the same. I'm only following in their footsteps. If I wish to put people back together, I first need to take them apart. That's all. She just says this in a very matter-of-fact manner, as though it is common sense, and perhaps there it is. See the logic in it, too. You know there's no malice in your sister's actions, only an intellectual curiosity and a genuine desire to do good. But for all her lofty claims of wishing to save people, you wish she did not need to do that in such a gruesome a manner. That corpse really does stink. Take people apart? I also was into that. I know! And that's why I pinked Tomo and Chromo when the game released. About the doctor. About the doctor's sister. The sister. The Cordywood's sister. She's not your sister, really. She's your father's friend's daughter. It's like sisters. That's why it's pseudo-incest in the, content warnings, by the way. I'm pretty sure she'd be quite turned off by the pseudo-incest in the game. So she might not be interested in the doctor as much as I thought she would be, actually. I thought she'd be interested in this character. I'm not sure she would be interested in this route of the game, due to the pseudo-incest. But, shrugs. Yeah. Corpse does stink. Now, are you going to keep standing there? Your sister says, inclining her head. Or will you help me? Help you, you ask? Somewhat hesitant. Your gorge rising. How can you do that? Surely she does not want you to pick up a scalpel and... Oh no, I will not ask you to do it far, but you might fetch me a bucket. I need something to put the organs in. Of course! That makes sense. Duh! Of course. Your sister would not ask you to cut open a body. Of course she would never do something so wicked. But exhuming one from a graveyard? Fetching a bucket, of all things, so she might use it to obtain its removed organs? Your sister would ask you to do that and more. You've never before thought this to your sister, but now you're beginning to wonder. Just how shameless is she? You stand with your sister in her makeshift laboratory for some 2 hours. Further, her dutiful assistant to the end. You fetch containers for the various organs, clean her equipment, and listen to her postulation as she cuts and slices and saws at bones. You try to endure it the best you can. The smell of spilled blood, of decomposing flesh, but it weighs upon you. The stink of it begins to tear into your eyes, and you have to swallow down the urge to vomit on numerous occasions. Eventually, however, she finishes with this macabre art project of hers, and once she finishes, you soon excuse yourself. You retreat outside, desperate to feel the fresh air upon your cheeks, to inhale the scent of earth and air rather than the stink of carrion corpse. You pass a hand in your mouth. You press a hand in your mouth, trying to quell the nausea that continues to roil inside you. Tightly, you close your eyes. You try to inhale slowly, deliberately, but it's all for nothing. Your stomach lurches. Then you blend and eject the contents of your stomach onto the grass, all frothy yellow-brown bile. Weakly, you groan. You feel a little better after vomiting, but as if all your energy has voided your body with your last meal. You're exhausted. All the physical activities in the night prior is catching up to you, and scoured from inside out. You no longer have the strength to stand. You glance back at your sister's atelier and frown. You're unsure whether you wish to go back indoors once more, to brave the stink of the grave, but the choice you have. You're no dog. You're hardly going to sleep outside. Sharply, you inhale, hoping to take the crisp outdoor air with you. Then you step inside your home once more, a place which was once your home at least, but now bathed in the stink of entrails. It no longer feels like it. Your head spins. You feel like an unwelcome intruder, as though you are trespassing in someone else's home. You fear that you no longer belong here. There's nowhere else for you to go. You return to your little used bedroom, which you rarely sleep in, feeling utterly drained, devoid of energy. Then you collapse onto the bed, lying sideways like a marionette whose strings have been cut. Blech. You hit the mattress, which sinks beneath your weight. Your eyelids fall shut. Then beyond the smell, buoyed by the smell of corpse, which continues to fill your room, you sleep. You surrender yourself to dreams where nothing can hurt you, where nothing can go wrong. You sleep, and you sleep, and you sleep. And you don't wake up, and continue to sleep. As the world drifts away from you, as your worldly concerns, once so pressing, all begin to melt away. You know, though you do not know how you know, no good will come from waking up now. Ignorance, as they say, is bliss, and were you not blissful with your sister, as you helped her note down her various discoveries, as you wandered around the riverbank together, your shoulders almost brushing? That is the life that you wish to cling to. It is the life that you have always lived. You dream of your sister clinging to your side, her arm wound about yours, as the pair of you walk outside beneath the sunlight. You dream of the riverbank, dotted all about with marigolds, and how pretty your sister looked as she sat along in the sun. You dream of freshly baked apple pie, rainy days indoors, and the scent of books, not corpse. You do not dream of churchyards. In your slumber, you escape from all these unpleasant affairs, adrift upon your own imagination. You dream, and you drift, and you doze. And in so doing, you need never open your eyes. You need never confront reality. You need never realize what your sister is planning to do to you. And in your ignorance, you're happy. Or as happy as a corpse can be. I cannot say I care for this turn of events. Now please, listen to me. I've endured a lot already, but there is still a little more to do, until you reach this particular story's conclusion. My experience experiment has yet to come to a close. So, please do this again. It's time to wake up. But you eventually wake up. But you eventually wake up. It is inevitable that you would, for nobody can sleep forever, however much you might wish for it, however much you might want. Your eyelids flutter open, inevitably, exuberantly. You expect upon waking that you will find yourself in your room once more, curled in your bed beneath your sheets, your loose hair splayed across the pillow. But your expectations are unanswered. You soon find yourself opening your eyes, that you do not in your room, and neither are you lying in your bed. You're lying down, yes, but on your back, the curve of your spine pressed against something cold, hard, and unforgiving. Your arms, meanwhile, been held at your side, fixed in place by cold and unmoving steel. You feel these manacles brush against your inner arm almost intimately, and you hiss from the shock of it. The steel straps, what little warmth your body still possesses, and you shiver. Well, what are you? You look about you uneasily, trying to plump the shadows with your wide and anxious eyes. Though part of you already knows, of course, what's going on to happen. You can tell by the smell alone, even if you cannot tell by your surroundings. You are your sister's operating theatre. You're lying upon the mortuary slab purchased second-hand from an old hospital, the slab which has already made you shudder, owing to the rusted red splattered all of its unassuming surface. You have seen your sister perform several operations upon the slab before, mostly of the cats and dogs, though yesterday's cadaver was a new development that you have always watched from a distance. You've stood by your sister's dutiful disinfectedly. Your equipment in wiping her brow with sweat. You stood afar, and you let her work, and you dreamed and dreamed of the day when your research would be renewed, rewarded, when she would be hailed as some sort of visionary genius. You dreamed and you dreamed when the world would guard your sister as you do. But now you fear you will never see that happen. It is with wide eyes that you glance about, searching for something, anything, lurking in the shadows, and as you do, you spy a diminutive figure, a flash of soul. Naturally, it's your sister. The expression is the scientific curiosity. It's the same expression she wears when the observation of the specimens, the prickled animal fetuses, and the innards suspended in inside glass jars. In her right hand, meanwhile, she grips something sharp. Her scalpel. You know what that means before she approaches, before she utters so much as a single word, but still, you feel compelled to address her. What in the world are she doing? What is going on? You ask her these questions and more, the syllables catching in your throat, chafing at it like the iron restraints around your wrist. You ask her what she means to do with you, lying as you are on a cold mortuary slab, though you already know what she's plotting. You've already seen what she is capable of. You know full well what she means to do, but you still ask regardless. You cannot help but hope. Suppose it is part of being a person, something which makes us intrinsically human. We cannot help but wish for the best, even when our circumstances are decidedly dismal. But I'm forgetting myself. Of course you are. I ought to not interject into the story. It is not mine to tell. Not right now, at least. You look at your sister, your pale face taut, full hope, of desperation, frantic pleas of mercy. I apologize, but a revelation, footage of that corpse made me realize something. One body is not enough. I need much more if I am going to complete my research properly. But your hope soon dies on what your sister utters these faithful words. They are words which are familiar to you. Words your sister has said many times before. It is not enough. For her, it is never enough. Her appetite for learning is an intense, insatiable thing. Luscious, it exists within her like a black hole, dark and deadly, sucking in every which dares approach too close. You should have known, perhaps deep down, part of you did know that one corpse would never be able to satisfy her. I'm not doing this. Your sister continues, her voice wavering even so slightly. If I have any vendetta against you. On the contrary, I love you. You are my dearest friend, Kara. You are more precious to me than anybody else in all the world. But I loved my mother too. I had watched as she suffered. She died slowly, agonizingly. I did not want that to happen to anybody else. I want to save her and all people like her. So I need to gather more data. I need to conduct even more experiments. Pressing open a corpse was instructive. But it did not answer all my questions. I need to operate on somebody who is still alive. Somebody whose blood still runs through their veins. I need to do this for the sake of my research. That is all. I hope there are no hard feelings. No hard feelings? You stood back at your sister, stunned in silence for the weight of her words. How can there be no hard feelings? She has a juice change in her stained operating table. She means to slice you open. You cannot help but have hard feelings. You love her, yes, yeah, you adore her, I mean more than anybody in the world, but that is why it hurts so much. Haven't you done everything that she ever asked for? Haven't you been the best sister she could have asked for? Best assistant? Of course you have. You've answered to my every whim, and every wish and whim, no matter how selfish. Did I know that they have been selfish? You have been to me. You have been better to me than I deserve. Then why, you ask her, your voice entreating, are you doing this? Why go this far? Why go this far? I already told you. It is for science. We must all make a sacrifice in the name of progress. This is how we can advance. But why sacrifice you? You must operate on a person. Why, who still lives? Why choose a person who supposedly loves the most? Why not choose somebody at random? One of the students at the university who she never attends? Why, you ask? Your sister replies, her expression ponderous. There is a pause, and then, well, it would be a proper sacrifice. That would not be a proper sacrifice. I do not love the students of the university. They mean nothing to me. Not like you, Carol. You are my precious sister. You are the one who has always taken care of me. You are the one I love. That stands to reason that you will be the biggest sacrifice of all. I love you more than anybody, so you are the one I must give up if I am to make any progress. That is simply how it is. What? But that makes no sense, you cry, thrashing against your restraints. Not that it does you any good, of course. Sorry. Thrashing against your... They are made of hard, immovable steel, and they do not budge. You squirm and but succeed only in making the metal bite into your wrists. It hurts. But you fancy the scalpel held in your sister's hand will hurt even more. It slides beneath your skin. You stare at her, eyes wide, begging for mercy, for relief, for even a little bit of sympathy. But though your sister looks pained, she does not relent. I can't read English words. Stares down at you, then says, "I'm sorry, Carol. I know this must be hard for you. You think this is something that is an understatement. But it is hard for me, too, please. To understand, I'm not doing this for the sake of it. It's important if I am to continue with my research. And you did say that you would always support me. You promised." Ah! There it is! It would seem that your old promise, constructed on the banks of the river, have come back to haunt you. She's right, of course. You always did want to support her, but never did you imagine that she would demand this of you. Yes, well, that is part of the problem. She says lightly, "You have always been supremely unimaginative, Kara. That is why you've been content to call me your sister. After all these years, is it not?" What? You look at your sister blankly, your brow furrowed. What is she talking about? Well, this is only one assumption. Your sister says, "But I've always thought you looked at me in a way which sisters oughtn't." Oh! So she noticed. How you have always regarded her, did she? Well, of course she did. Your sister is a scientist. Her observation and her power is second to none. You used to believe that she had an eye only for her experiments, and that she was wholly unconcerned with other people's feelings, but perhaps you were mistaken. Even now, your sister finds new ways to surprise you. And that is saying something, given she's the cure to Mortuary's lab. You look at your sister with anxious eyes. Your face flushed, your heart fluttered in your chest, but still, you ask what she means. There's nothing suspect about your feelings for her. How can there be? You are sisters after all, and we are not related. Your sister says softly, "My blood. You're not sisters, no matter how much you might wish to be, so... And I believe your feelings for me have always been more intimate than that." I see sometimes in the way you gaze lingers on me. I hear it too in your voice, and the things you say to me. I believe you care for me more intensely than you would like to admit. But such feelings can be scary. Your sister continues, now leaning in to caress your cheek. And you've always been weak, Carol. You fear what other people think. You cannot stand the thought of feeling scorned. You knew that feelings for me were unacceptable, so you thought it better to reframe them in referring to me as your sister. You made your feelings something irreproachable, something devoid of judgment. You tried to put your feelings from inside your box, so you need to never examine them too carefully. But I am a scientist, you know, and I cannot help but poke around at things I oughtn't. I do not like leaving things so ambiguous. We're not sisters. But perhaps we are something even closer. Coming closer. She might be right, you admit begrudgingly. But what could be even closer than sisters? You could hardly imagine. You feel you ought to try to imagine it, for the fear of might be something profane, but you are proving my points. Your sister rejoins, her expression soft, her smile sweet. You cannot imagine such anything, Carol, which is probably why you are so scared. So, let me explain what will happen next. You may die at my hands, but I will revive you. Then we'll be together forever. I promise. It is not a very reassuring promise. You tell her as much, and she frowns. Her lips purse into a suggestion of a pout. Are you telling me that you doubt my science? Oh no, you heard her say. Afraid, though, you might not. Very well be your very last moment. You upset her. Offended her. Your sister, who is your sister. Not your sister, but whom you love more than anybody else in the world. She might cut you open, and you would still adore her. Wait a second. Where's the button I'm looking for? Second. She would cut you open. You would still adore her. You cannot help yourself. Even if she stuck her scalpel inside you, only your innards would ooze out. None of your love for her would escape your body. Your feelings for her have penetrated you from far too deeply. Now your love has become a core part of your personality. Perhaps she is right about you. Perhaps you really do love her as more than a sister. Afraid that your feelings were unnatural. You tried to mask them with a veneer of respectability. Two women sharing a bed may be wrong, but two sisters? Why, there can be nothing purer than that. You told yourself your feelings were of familial nature, so did you not need to probe them too much, and yet... Good. I'm glad I knew it. I can always trust you until the end. Your sister says, with a small smile, you always have understood me better than anybody else. That is why I love you so much. My beloved Caroline. It is with this remark, sweeter than anything she has ever before uttered, that your sister tips her head. Her lips find yours, soft and sweet, as in the same moment she her right hand, the one which grips her scalpel still, gasp, she penetrates your parted lips with your tongue, just as she penetrates your flank with the sharpened blade of her scalpel. You feel her invading you. On both fronts, the blade sharp and inorganic, her tongue soft and fleshy. If you wished, you could bite down upon her tongue. You'd sink your teeth into it, sever it, perhaps, with the tip, and make her draw back. Her mouth would fill with blood, and perhaps her eyes would fill with tears. She would curse you. Or would she? Perhaps she would simply sob. You've only seen her cry once before, shortly after her mother's death, but she's not sobbed since. She had no need for tears, for she knew she could always wipe them away. You thought that she needed her. That you needed her. Or perhaps she needed you, too. You were a pillar of support upon which she leaned, a constant she clung to. You both needed one another, so perhaps it is no wonder that, in the end, both of you were toppling. Your foundations were not secure enough, and yet the scalpel in your side hurts, but you cannot bring yourself to hate her. Even now, you love her. You do not want to push her away. In fact, you already welcome the invasive rental on your side. It is proof, if nothing else, that she needs you, that she wants you. You will submit, then, to this act of violation. For your love is so deep it transforms it not into something invasive, but something intimate. You will let your sister have her way with you, as you always have. You will let her take apart, just as you did your father's old courage clock, though you doubt she, even in her infinite genius, be able to put you back together again. You're unsure as she digs the knife into you whether you want her to. Her kiss might be a salve, but it only offers you so much relief. Her fingers have started to feel horribly, unnaturally cold. Your heartbeat, meanwhile, begins to slow. You succumb bit by bit to your own inevitable end, to the inevitability of your scalpel sliding deep and quick into your flesh, paring it away from your bones. You let yourself drift, here at the rust-red operating table of the Gola, your beloved sister, looming over you. A look of concentration on her face, so intense you almost flattered she cares so much. You wished as you lie there, she looked at you like this before, that she had seen fit to offer you even a crumb of attention like this in the past. But no, you think, as you come to the belay of your sister's scalpel, this is not a past you wish to recall, not a past you wish to reclaim. Did you not see any other path available to you, as you drifted? Any other lives much more satisfactory? Why don't you reach out and see quickly now while you still can? Won't you see who else you might have been? What else you might have become? Ah! And we finally reached the end. Is it time for the finale? Oh, goody! I was waiting for this one. I was still trying, so patient as I observed you from afar, examining your dreams. But no longer do I need to situate myself in the shadows. Finally, it is time for me to take center stage. It looks as though you finally began to awake, though you will not be awake in a purposed bed or a single hospital room or in a desk that is messy old atelier. There's only one place for you to wake now, only one place for you to return to. There's only nothing else to say for laboratory. There's nothing left save my laboratory, and for me to welcome you to the world of living. Hello, Eve. It's good to finally meet you. Do you know who I am? Perhaps not. I feel you drawing a blank, but of course I know your name is. What your name is? How could I not, when I am the one who gave you it? Were it not for me, you would not have a name to call your own. You would not have a body, would not have a life. Your existence began with me. I am the one who brought you into the world, and I ended not without aid. I meant at all. I created life with my own hands, not from my womb, mounted as you are. I did it with my own likeness, suits my own aesthetic taste. Is that not interesting? You might not agree, but I see you shrinking away from me, but I find it rather fascinating. I'm not a religious woman, you see. One cannot be, I suppose, in the line of work, but if I was, I would have likened your birth to a miracle. I do not mean to flatter myself, but I very much does seem like a sort of event which ought to be recorded in the Bible. I might very well be the next Virgin Mary. Do you not find that amusing? No! You're not going to smile? Well, that's fine. You only have just woke from your long slumber. I would not be surprised if your senses are a little agile at the moment. It might take you a while to adjust, my darling Eve. So, while you gather your things, I shall explain everything to you. You do not need to interject. So, do not feel compelled. Even if you were to try, I am unsure whether you will succeed. I do not give you a tongue after all, or your teeth. I thought it prudent to take preventative methods, shall we say, upon your waking, so you cannot bite though your own tongue. I might seem like an easygoing woman, but I really would rather, of course. Rather, of course, if you tried to end your life mere seconds after waking from the horror of it all. I know, dear, I know. It must be alarming to having awoken in such a manner, but it is only a greater good. Your life is a huge scientific breakthrough. You're a medical marvel. From the three desperate girls, their parts sewn and stitched together, a new life has been born. You are three: Justine, Elizabeth, and Caroline, yet you are not any of them. You are your own being, a creature wholly unique to you, and I am your mother. I am your sister. I am your goddess, your savior, and your creator. Everything else I wish to be. You, meanwhile, are my finest creation. To date, the first successful cadaver I have been able to reanimate. It really is wonderful. I can't overstate how proud I am to look at you, dear. You are truly adorable. One is the graying skin, of course, and the smell. It was posed. Something of a challenge, I will admit, to prevent your body from decaying when you were comprised of three corpses sewn together. Nobody's perfect, not for me. I'm not even able to overcome every obstacle in my way. You are still rotting, I suppose. Very slowly, mind, but progress has been made. You're awake and you are alive, I think you are I know you understand me. Even if you cannot speak, I can see the recognition in your eyes. I would ask you to call me Mama, but I've never been a big family person. I never did care for my own mother, so I didn't bother, I'm afraid. I might find that somewhat cloying. In any case, you can't speak. No teeth, no tongue. But I didn't mention that already. I did? Oops, I'm sorry. I'm so excited to see that one of my experiments finally panned out. It's out of my place, but never mind, never mind. You know, I did always find it funny that Christians claim God made them in their own image. True. Then why were we humans given the means to defy our gods? Our makers, our creators? Why did he give us brains so we might question him, mouths so we might mock them, bodies so we might defile him? I always told myself that if I succeed in becoming a god, I would not give my own creation the chance to oppose me. I would allow it. That seemed like the true logical course of action. I'm distracted. Again. It's a bad habit of mine, I apologize. Bad business. I believe I've already told you that what you are, how you came to be, but I'm more clear. You're a fusion, like I said. Three girls who meet tragic ends: Justine, Elizabeth, and Caroline. I collected these limbs, lifeless bodies, or perhaps you could say I almost donated them. They were just being trying to cause a mess. After all, sticking like that and going rotten, which would be such a waste. They were so beautiful in life, and they were loved. Oh yes, these girls were all loved excessively. The point of madness, annihilation, destruction. The women who loved them, well, they were little more than girls themselves. Could not endure what they had done. The madness had wrought. No, they gave these girls to me, all three of them. They had begged me, asked me whether I could breathe life to them anew, whether I could not use my superior intellect to rile them. I must say, I was satisfying The little science girl, the medical student, the lofty ideas, confessed, her eyes full of tears, that she hadn't the knowledge, after all, to put her beloved sister together again. Now that, neither here nor there, I accepted the profane offering of these suffering girls, all of them afflicted by their own madness. And these girls then, I vowed that I would do my best to save them. And as you can see, I do have eyes, even if you do not have teeth or a tongue. I was successful, in part at least. I could not provide these girls as they were. They're whole separate beings, so I had to make a compromise or two. Well, 3. These girls have all been dead for quite some time, especially poor Caroline. And they had begun to smell. Different parts of them had petrified. Not even I could salvage them all. Instead, I had to take a more creative approach to the best parts of each girl, organs which still function, and skin which had yet to turn blue, an iron here, lung there, a few fingers for each hand, and then I stitched them together. Under my split hand, 3 girls became one shared consciousness, with the heart in pieces, clopped together like a patchwork quilt, an electric current running through the skull. That would be you, of course, my dear Eve, my most impressive, ambitious creation. I've dabbled in transmutation, contributing human consciousness between vessels and running currents through the brain. That was long dead, but never before have I been able to breathe life to death so completely desperate. Before there was none. You were nothing but meat and deer, a collection of skin and bone doomed with symmetry. Before I got my hands on you, you were nothing more than a cold dead flesh, 3 cold, unbeating hearts, which had begun to rot and wear away. But now you have been granted life anew by my own 2 hands. I have rescued you, I have revived you, and now I will rehabilitate you. I will teach you how to be a proper girl, a real girl, a perfect girl. I want to let you be a helpless milk sop like Justine, not a wayward slattern like Elizabeth, not a spineless like Caroline. I will fashion you with my own 2 hands into the ideal woman. You will be my very own Eve, the first truly immaculate being to grace the world and even. I see you only right. Yes, you don't think I have realized. You think I'm insane, mad as a hatter, the march of a hare, both mad even, as the 3 girls who caused so much chaos. And do you know what? You might be right. Perhaps I am mad. But it's all part of the job, I'm afraid. No one cannot help but returning into madness after being such death. I defy everybody to retain their sympathy, sanity, and full working orders. After spending so much time with corpses flung though, with their arms all the way to the elbow, blood and sinew. I knew. Chewy muscle. I double in the air. Doubt there are any scientists who done that. I have, so fine. Call me mad, with your mouth which cannot speak, an empty cavern without tongue and teeth. Call me what you like. Your words won't reach me. You just insult me inside your head. And anyway, my mother always did tell me only sticks and stones may break my bones. I'm quite immune to name calling. Now look. I know it's a lot to try for you to again, I understand. It's going to through your rebellious phase, but it can't be for long. You are the pinnacle of my research. 2 dozen long painstaking years of taking bodies apart only to put them back together. I cannot let you fail. I don't mind you taking my time with you. It took me 2 decades to get to this point. I'm not about to recount my studies now. I've heard tales of great scientists who throw their lives away in their magnum opus, only to recoil in horror once they see the reality of what they have created, of what they have brought into the world. But I am not that fickle and feckless. I don't love you any less now you are awake than I did when you slept. Electric currents pulsing in your head. I'm your mother. Yes, I am, and I made you, which makes you my daughter. No matter how malformed. I could never even throw you away. That would run contrary to my very nature. For, you see, I have a far bigger heart than you might imagine. Now it beats only for me. Unlike yours, it was not strict together from 3 twins ago, but still, it contains within it multitudes. I cannot say that I love humanity as very much, but I utterly adore you. You are all I have ever wanted. And now I have brought you back to life, melded all your consciousness together. I will never let you go. I gave you no mouth, so you cannot speak. That much scream. But I can see the defiance in your eyes. It seems you wish to rebel against me. Are you not happy with your lot in life? Do you not wish to see my creation? Tell me, my dear daughter, are you thinking of escaping from here? Oh! You wish to defy me, do you? And how exactly do you propose to do that? You're strapped to an operating table in the moment of your day, and you cannot move. Your skinny wrists and ankles are bound with ice solid steel. You can try to pull your way from your restraints, but but your body is weak, your flesh horribly vulnerable. If you try to free yourself through force, you will succeed only in scraping the skin off your bones, and your skin is in a poor state already. It is beginning to grey in places, you know, because your patchwork heart is struggling to supply enough blood to your extremities. Can't you see, dear daughter? The tips of your fingers are starting to go black. You're in no state of defying me. Now then, are you going to impede my progress? Wait, don't tell me. You don't mean to retreat back to your dreams, do you? Are you going to defy me by inactivity, by inertia? By falling asleep and escaping from your past lives? Do you think you can avoid this outcome? Sitting in my lap, at my mercy, if only the girls who now comprise your lovely body made different choices? Do you want to relive their final moments once more? Well, by all means go ahead. Feel free to try, dear one. But the past, you know, is well and truly in the past. You might not be able to relive ghosts of the girls' memories. Their bodies are now their own, after all, and their histories are graved upon your decaying flesh, but you cannot influence them. Escape, if you wish, inside your mind. I will be waiting for you, and the cycle will begin anew once more. You can try to run, if you like, inside your mind, but your flesh is weak and willing. Your body will fall apart, if I say so, and then you will be nothing, less than nothing. Don't forget, dear one, I am the one who made you. I am your creator, and nobody can defy the goddess who grants them life. You will live on whether you want to or not. You have no other choice. But by all means, try to escape me if you can. Let me see you do your best. As a woman of science, I am intrigued to see whether your creation can truly best my creator. Struggle if you can, but in the end, I will always hold your glass heart in my hands. Game is done. Notes. Character art by Beto. Background art by Flickr. DIY by Eduardo. And music by these lovely people. Dova. Free sound. By Free Sound. True reading. Gallery. Gallery. Just your mother. Just your mother. And of course we have the notes. Hello everybody, and thanks again for reading your glass heart in my hands. I hope you enjoyed reading it because I mostly enjoyed writing it. As always, I'll take a little bit about my thoughts process while writing this story. What inspired me, and any other bits and pieces. Actually, it's getting late. I cannot read this. I'll read this on my own time though. It's getting late. I got things to do. I have an appointment to get to in an hour or so? Question mark. An hour or so. Not sure when it's actually going to happen, but I have an appointment to get to. So, we're going to go over to the talking screen to end the game. To close off for the day. I will read this on my own time. I'll read this on my own time. But, that is it for me today. That is it for me today! Love myself some good Yuri. Lovely Yuri, lovely fun Yuri. Fun times with Yuri. Fun Yuri times. Fun Yuri times. Alright, that is it for me today though. Next stream will be tomorrow. 3 p.m. EST for some Mrs. Zakaya. Let's see who's live. Sounds like being Yuri. Some Dark Yuri, but they're also their BRB, so... I think we're just gonna go say hi to Ari, my lovely Gamil friend who's playing some Star Rail right now. She's doing the Fate Stay Night? Yeah, I think it's Stay Night. I was feeling to say that. Doing a Fate Stay Night little quest. The quests right now. Story. There was looking for story. Little Fate story right now, and yeah, I gotta go. I got things to do. I need to eat dinner still. I need to do wait for other things. But that is it for today. Thank you for hanging out. Hope you have a lovely day or whatever. Again, Mrs. Zakaya tomorrow. 3 BST. Hope to see you there. And hope everyone has a lovely evening, guys. Until next time.